Good afternoon, YouTube. Nice to see you, nice. So welcome to the talk. Let me tell you a little bit about the talk and how it works if you're new to my channel. So I do these talks every Sunday at 6 p.m. French time. You can ask me questions through Skype. My Skype address is LisaCairns12. That's LisaCairns12. You can find that info in the box below. If you want to call in, then make sure you have a headset with a microphone and good internet connection and a quiet background. If you want to call in, just put "call me" in the chat box. Don't actually just call in. And you can also write questions, and sometimes I take the questions. And just be aware that when you call in, like, try to focus on what it is that you want to ask. I know that it can sometimes be overwhelming when you call in, and so therefore create like lots of verbal excess. So just be conscious of that and try to focus, because I sometimes find it a little hard directing people when they have a lot of verbal excess. But I'm trying to get better at that and direct them so that they're not embarrassed or feel shamed. Yeah, it's not too confrontational. Cool. The question today that I'm asking or talking about is, what is oneness? What is oneness? Yes. That is all, I think. Yeah, and I'm changing the way I do sessions. So if you've been onto my website trying to book sessions, then you can't book sessions. I've switched it off currently. I'm reducing the amount of sessions I do per week so I can concentrate on other projects. And I'm first of all just going to offer the slots that I have to people that currently regularly do sessions with me, because I'm only going to do 3 a week, whereas I used to do 9 a week. And I will make it a new rule that everybody can only have 1 session a month, so that like if somebody has 4 sessions a month, then it takes up a lot of the sessions. So this is my new idea, and then I can have people on waiting lists, new people that want to do 1 session or try a session with me. So when the other people cancel or decide that they've grown out of the sessions or they don't need them anymore, then I can fill those spots. And this is a way and an attempt for me to also control the problem of me booking out like 6 months in advance. So yeah, so if you're trying to book sessions, it also means like when I don't do so many sessions, then I might feel more inspired to do more online events. But when I'm doing 9 sessions a week and 2 hours of live stream a week, like in reality, the sessions most probably add up to 16 hours, because I normally always go over. Not always, but often go over. So that's 16 hours, 17, 18 hours of speaking about this subject every week. And I just find that I don't, and then I speak about it with my partner as well to an extent, and I just feel like I don't have the momentum to then make videos or do something creative with it, because I'm a little talked out about the subject. That's a lot. You might not think it's a lot, but it is a lot. Yeah, and I'm very energetic, so it's very energetic, my sessions. So yes, this is a new way of doing it. So if you go on there and you see that you can't book, don't worry. If you do regular sessions, I'm going to write to everyone who does regular sessions and tell everybody how I'm going to do it from next year. I'm already booked predominantly till December. So yes, that is a new plan. It's exciting. And I feel like I'll be giving people more in their session, you know. Like when you do that amount, like there's only a certain amount you can give, but if I'm only doing 3 sessions a week, then I feel like I can give more to those people. Yeah. And maybe I can keep one slot open for people that just want one-off sessions per month. We shall try, it might not work. That's the plan. By the time I get to December, it might have changed. Yes. Okay, so now we meditate, if that's what you want to call it. Just sitting. So now I just like to do some silent sitting for 15-20 minutes. I always like to do this before talks. You're welcome to join me just sitting quietly. And you can do whatever you want. I don't have this momentum that thinks if you do something it will get you closer to peace or rest, or that this will lead you to that. I just feel inspired to do that, and then I don't know what will be the outcome for you. That's something that you have to discover. Okay, so yeah, we just do some sitting. Oops, sorry, I often forget the rhythm of how this works. Gotta do it in black hole. Put my headset in. Hello. Guten Abend. So I suspect a lot of people tonight are watching football. And I'm going to be cast out of the English country for saying that I'm supporting Italy. I just can't bear England winning, like straight after Brexit and then in a Boris Johnson government, because I could just feel that as soon as England wins, Boris Johnson's going to put it into a speech and like make it sound like his government did this. And then he will always wear it as a badge. Like even I can imagine when he leaves government, he'll still be like, and in my government, we won the World Cup again, because England hasn't won since 1966. So I'm sorry, England. So all the people listening in England, you might be like, I just can't. He's such a narcissist. He has such a tendency towards narcissism. And I just can't bear him claiming that. And also because of Brexit, it's like, yeah, now look what we can do by ourselves, the Europeans. We're not European. Yeah. So if you're English and you feel the same way about Brexit and Boris Johnson, then maybe you can also be like, Italy, Italy, Italy. Let's just hope. It looks like England's doing really well this year, though. Let's just hope Italy's stronger, please. We have no sense of nationalism, as you can see. I'm going to be very popular with all the Italians now. Okay, so what is the title? Let's see what the title is today. I forgot already. What is oneness? So what's really nice in non-duality is that it doesn't name what's being talked about, so it calls it not two. So that's what it means, like this is not two world. Which is so beautiful. Even going to speak it like makes my body like vibrate with joy. So when I was younger and I first heard this concept in Buddhism, the way they explained it was through the idea of atoms and particles. That when you take a microscope and you look down at everything, you can never really, like when you zoom in on everything, you can never really find the border to one thing and another. Like, so although I look like a human, if you zoom in on me, oi, mosquito, off. So if you zoom in on me, you can't really find my border. You can't really find skin or bone or blood or water. You keep zooming in and you just find more and more particles. And it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And the same for the door, the same for the chair. So we call this a chair or a sofa, and we believe that's what it is. And we think that there is a separate entity, there is a dualistic world which has all these separate entities around. Like, so there's a chair, there's a floor, there's a TV, there's a wall, there's a sky, and they're all separate. But what's so miraculous and so mysterious about this world is that when you zoom in, you can't find that separation. Like, what is the border between me and the air, me and the sofa, me and you? So zoomed out, there looks like there's difference, but zoomed in, there is no difference. You could also compare it to a computer game. Like, zoomed out, it looks like Super Mario is running around the screen and doing all these things in this world, in Super Mario World, meeting Da Vinci and Mushroom and the princess, and saving the day. So you think that's happening from the zoomed out perspective, but when you zoom in, you begin to find, I suppose, zeros and ones, and then if you zoom in far further than that, then you'll find green Oh, I've forgotten what it is on the screen. Is it green, red and blue? The lights of green, red, blue. And then when you zoom in further from that, then you find white light, I think. It's something like that. And that's so beautiful. So there is an appearance of dualism, but in reality, it's not two. So I assume that's what oneness means. But they didn't call it oneness because they thought that that was too explicit. Like that it's more in line to say not two rather than oneness, because oneness implies something else. It's so beautiful. In non-duality, what we tend to talk about is the observer and the observed being the same thing. But even in that, you kind of lose the observer and the observed. So you start off with this idea of this, that there's something watching in every experience. There's something that's conscious in every experience. And then there's also this sense of I amness, this sense of beingness. And that's been there throughout your life. And then they say in non-duality that goes on after death. But when you really get a sense of that and really wake up to that, then that begins to break down too as well, because what is observing? And where is the observation? And how is it separate from what's being looked at? And that next part is love, is what you define as love. It's a really beautiful subject. So really there is no looking, there is simply everything. And then when you go deeper, everything is not a thing, and yet it's everything. So everything is no thing. And you really go deep into it, nothing has substance. And you can even experience that now. It's not even you, because who is this you that we talk about? But it can be experienced there is nothing experiencing. So in this moment, there is nothing that's looking out. There's nothing that's being looked at. In the imagination, it feels like there's something. So you think, there is somebody that's looking out. So there's an entity that's looking out. But that's all in imagination. In the moment, it's totally empty. So in this moment, there is simply speaking happening. Just speaking happening, and then there's hearing happening, but it's for no one. It's empty of a source. It's happening in freedom. Doogie, doogie, doogie! Doogie, doogie, doogie! What else to say? Just waggy, waggy, waggy. What can be said about that? That's so beautiful. Yeah, another topic that I wanted to explore today was this idea of entertainment. and like a lack of wanting to go deep into subjects. So what I notice, and the feedback that I get from people, is that when people start asking questions, particularly when they start asking questions live, a lot of people switch off. They don't like it, the talk anymore. So some people kind of enjoy it, but especially if the person's got difficult energies, or the person's talking loads, they switch off. And to me, like, there's two things that can happen in this talk that are really beautiful. You can listen to it and you can resonate with the energy of non-duality, like what's being spoken, because I feel like most of the time, I can't guarantee it's 100% of the time, but most of the time, like, what's being spoken is not coming from a source. It's just coming out. It comes out through the personality structure, so it has dynamics in it, but it's coming out very organically and very freely. And there's some people that, not everyone, but they can resonate with that, and then it evokes something in them. They can feel that expansiveness. And then when I speak to someone, there is all types of dynamics going on. The person maybe is suffering a lot, so they bring all types of energies. So when that person comes on, you feel that difficulty of that person, and then there is a wanting to avoid that. And then there's also a wanting to avoid certain emotional experiences. So you can sort of zone out in the non-dual energy, which is really beautiful, and that has its place. But then when it comes to the questioning, it disrupts that, and then triggers an aversion in you, which is okay to have aversion and then to switch off. But it triggers this aversion of not wanting to feel that person's feelings. And what's so interesting in that is the exploration. Like, what is it that's avoiding that? And it can be a natural dynamic, and it can be coming from nothing, but it can also be this firstly wanting to be entertained, because I also can be a little intellectual, so there is some sort of form of intellectual entertainment, and then there is the zoning out and the energy. And then when it comes to the emotions and listening to the other person's problems or discomforts, then there is an aversion to it. And what is that aversion? Like, why is there an aversion to that? And that's the interesting question. And it could be really valid, and for some people it's appropriate to switch off. But it could also be this fear of the depth of emotions, that there's part of you that wants to stay away from this emotional world and wants to stay in this, like, emptiness, which is fine, but that has to be looked at and explored at some point. That the emotions, the responses. Normally what has to happen in awakening is a deep exploration of the person, and a deep exploration of the pleasures and the aversions in life, and your resistances. For example, maybe you come into this subject with a righteousness, but you don't know that you come into this subject with a righteousness. And throughout your life, there's been a righteousness, like, I'm right and the other is wrong. And this urge towards proving that you're right. Maybe you had a very confrontational father, and there was like this energy of wanting to prove the father wrong, and wanting to be right, wanting to bring down authority. And that also could be part of your design and part of your makeup, but more than likely there's lots of seeking and aversion in there. So there is like a big aversion to being wrong, like a big insecurity, that if you're wrong, you are nobody. If you don't prove the other wrong, then you aren't important, that you don't have importance. And so this can become a big personality structure. Like, if they prove me wrong, then nobody will love me, or I'm going to die, or I'm going to be abandoned. Or maybe if they are right, you feel very suppressed. There's this, like if you had a very overbearing father or something, then it feels very suppressive. So there's this urge to break out of it. And to me, that's identification. So after identification leaves, that dynamic could still play, but it's not unconscious, and there's not the clinging to it. So there could be the tendency and the personality to want to win the argument, but it doesn't really matter. So this is just an example. So a lot of the time this has to be explored, but a lot of the time the person doesn't want to explore that, because guess what? It's painful, it hurts, because the momentum is to want to hide and want to be right, because that's where you feel your safety is, but it's not really your safety. It's an illusion that it's a safety. Your safety is what you really are, which is nothing. Your safety is this absolute emptiness in this moment. Right here, right now. So the other person wants to be right over you. Who cares? There's a momentum to maybe want to argue, but in the end, who cares? If you care, then you can go in and have war. So this is your freedom. What's happening? Right here, right now. What is happening? Boopy doopy doop. This is your freedom. This is your freedom. This emptiness. Nothing matters. You don't need to prove the parents right or wrong. You don't need to prove the education system right or not wrong. You don't need to be something. It's just as it is coming through. Just complete surrender into that beingness and that empty looking. And you can feel the resistances. They feel like lumps in your body or discomfort in your body. Like when they're in flow, it's just like a natural tendency. Like someone says something and then there's the tendency to want to tell them your opinion. And not everyone will be like that. There is no right or wrong. When it's coming from identification, then it tends to be like, I have to be right. Must be right. Who must be right? It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. This is what matters, what you are. Everything else is ideas, ideas, ideas that we cling on to as humans. It doesn't matter. Yeah, just like if England wins the football tonight, it really doesn't matter. But when Boris Johnson claims it as his own glory, I'll just be like, our government has put in all this money to sports and we're now seeing the payoff over the last 10 years. Yes, yes. But it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. It's just as it is. It's just my opinion. I want England to lose. Especially my Scottish side. And just see the reactions. Like some English people might feel really hurt by that. She's English, how can she want that? She's rejecting us. They don't even know that. They just maybe feel this like, oh, she shouldn't be saying that. How dare she? But underneath it, it might be this like attachment to Wanting to feel loved by the other, and by me saying that, it feels like a rejection on you, like a rejection on England. Like you are English and I am English and I'm rejecting you, which is absolutely not true. It's nothing about you or me, it's just about me not liking to hear Boris Johnson claim it as his own. And also the like people getting drunk in the streets and being very nationalistic. I don't like that either. Not that Italy won't do that as well. But it's not a rejection on you. So, and these are the dynamics. It's like you get activated and then there's a seeking. She's a bitch. She's such down and dirt. But really it's like your heart chakra hurts, and then there could be a rejection. And then on the other side there could be like, yeah, she's on our side. She likes us better, which is also not true. And there could be attachment to that. So it's just seeing through it all. And it doesn't mean that all dynamics go, so I still have the momentum to want England to lose. So to not be keen on Boris Johnson's government. I'm not keen on the Conservatives, but if it had been like Theresa May's government, I wouldn't have minded so much. It's more Boris Johnson. I feel like Theresa May has a kinder heart. That's all my projection. That's not true. That's not the way it is. Like if we analysed their hearts, if we could possibly do that, then maybe you find out Boris Johnson's kinda. It's just what happens in me when I look at them and I feel into it. It's not truth. And it could even come from trauma, in childhood. He could remind me of someone that I can't even remember. Who knows? My feeling is that everything that he does is about like grandiosity and adding to his ego. And it doesn't feel very extreme, but we never know what's in there. Maybe there was something that happened in childhood, so then when I see people like him, there is like a wanting to move away. Not wanting to move towards, not wanting to listen to what they say, like, oh. But thousands and thousands of other British people don't think that about him. Maybe even millions. So it doesn't mean that it's right. It's just the way I feel. When you're attached to it, then it would be impossible to admit that that could possibly be a trauma, because you'll be so much involved in wanting to make out that it's Boris Johnson that's a problem. Okay, maybe that's enough of me talking. I don't even know I'm going off on subjects. Boris Johnson this, Boris Johnson that. So if you've got any questions, then please put it on Skype, which is Lisa Cairns 12. Lisa Cairns 12. And And if you want me to call you, just put call me and then nothing else. And make sure that you've got a headset, microphone, and good internet connection, and that you try to focus in on what it is that you want to ask if you're going to call in. So try to maybe write it down before or get to the point. Like, it's not good. I'm not looking for people to call in and to have a chit chat. It's more like you have a question or there's something that you want to explore. Chit chat is off the table. Yeah. Danke. Hey Bia, good evening Bia. Nice to see you. Hey Thomas. Hi Thomas, may the best team win. I love your nationalistic approach. Just hoping for fair play and a good game. Honestly, it was a little thrilling to watch Richard Branson go to the space today with Virgin Galactic. Love their motto, from impossible to inevitable. Oh really? He did that? I didn't know about that, Thomas, that happened today. I have to look it up after. Nice. That's exciting. Hey Carla, sending you lots of love. Always a pleasure sitting in your energy. Yeah, Carla, and Bart said you were going to be here last week, but you two had to cancel because of everything. So shame to have missed you, Carla. I am here. I'm not going to say where here is, but you know, at the moment. Thomas, hey Thomas. Lisa, this week I've been merging into God, not with God, but into God. And there's something strongly pulsating in my mind that I would like to know your understanding of. The story of Genesis was manipulated by the church to exploit the population, but the real version of it must be a powerful description of the divine creation of humanity. It is known that the original human has fallen from grace into duality of mind, forgetting his innocence and understanding the difference between good and evil, and becoming divided in the heart. But what exactly started the falling? What made it happen? So my feeling on what made it happen was the beginning of language. So as soon as we began to speak, we began to name ourselves as an I center, and the other as an other, a you, and objects as other. And it will have started slowly, but to me it's language. So I don't know so much about the book of Genesis, but from my understanding, like Eve ate the apple of knowledge and then became aware of her nakedness. So before we started language, we didn't have any sense of being naked or not being naked, or good or bad or right or wrong. We were more living from our intuition. And then as we got language and grew language, we then began to make up this world in which we collectively shared. And then we invented this idea of right and wrong and what we should be and shouldn't be, which has benefits to it. It means that we could modulate our behavior. So with Khaleesi, she doesn't get the concept of torturing an animal. Like, so she catches an animal, she likes to roll on it, to roll it to death. I've never seen an animal do this, but that's her mode. So she hinders it, renders it immobile, and then she rolls on it. She hasn't done it so much. She more did that when she was in Thailand as a free street dog. I'd watch her do it. But sometimes she's caught a mouse or something, and I've seen her do it, or an insect even. She just rolls on them. When it can't move much anymore, she's in that roll on you. And she can't understand that she's torturing and creating a lot of pain, because she doesn't have any of that knowledge. She doesn't have any of that idea. To her, there is just everything. And in a way, that's true. Like, there is no insect that's experiencing pain. But then again, there is pain being experienced. So what happened when we became self-aware was we began to comprehend things. Like, so we began to be able to name that I feel pain. And if I feel pain, then you feel pain, the other feels pain. So then we begin to comprehend that I feel pain, the other feels pain. So then we begin to modulate our behavior. But that has hindrances to it, because we then also create this identity in which we believe we should be in order to be free, which isn't true. That's like elusive. So then We create all these ideas that in order to be a lovable human, I have to be nice, I have to be kind, I have to show that I'm kind. Whereas prior to language, if you weren't kind, nobody really knew that. You might get rejected from the group, or there might be consequences, but nobody really knew if you were being kind or not. It was just what it was, and then punishment would occur and then it would be over with. Whereas here, it's like these identities that we carry for life, and it's like 20 years ago, if you'd been in prison for doing something, you still will hold that 20 years later. Like, humanity doesn't let go of these things. It's like, you are this. Like, I think in most countries now, if you've got a criminal record of certain severity, then you're not allowed to travel to those countries. Even if it was 30 years ago, which is insane. And most of the time people commit crimes, not all the time, but most of the time it's because of poverty and because of abuse in childhood and trauma. So it's incredibly unfair. But, or mental illness. So we began language, and then we formed this imaginary person. Like, so we imagine who we are. I can't really remember doing this, but I remember like looking at myself like from a distance, like this is Lisa, and like wanting her to be seen in certain ways. Like, I'm wanting this image to live, like people see you in a particular image. Sometimes it comes up for me in the moment, like I'll do something and there'll be embarrassment or shame or something, but it passes really quickly and it's not really incorporated into that image so much. I mean, it could be. In the end of the day, I don't want to claim anything, I just am. I certainly don't want to be your pedestals of anything. Really and truly. I just want to be able to speak about this subject and express this love. So that's my interpretation, Thomas. Thank you for your question. I love you, Isabel. Mara, hi. Mara, hi dear Lisa. Thank you for doing what you love and sharing it with others. Non-duality is my favourite subject. So happy to know your talks. You are so joyful. Thank you for sharing your beautiful view. It helps me keeping my view up. Much love. Oh, nice, Mara. With pleasure. It really is with pleasure. In the end, the trick to it is that all there is what's happening right now, right here, and everything is that. Every word that comes out of you, every view, every sight, every sound, everything is that. Nice. There was another question from someone. Deepak. Hey Deepak, thank you for your question. Could you speak on how the change comes about if everything is happening by itself? So normally what happens, in my experience, it sometimes can be spontaneous, but there is an investigation into who you think you are, and your beliefs and your emotions, your ideas, your physical sensations. So an exploration into the inner world, the apparent inner world, and then that begins to get broken down. So in the beginning, you really think that you're Indian or English or American. You really think that you're better than someone, or that you should be this or should be that, shouldn't be that, or that you are separate, or that there's a God in the sky on a cloud with yellow clothes on. And then these ideas get challenged, and then begins to get let go in the body, because the contraction is like an energy in the body. So the body also gets challenged in different ways. The way in which the body is held, the chakras, the energies, and all the attachment to it. And then there can be this shift. That's normally how it happens. But I don't know the direct path to that. Like, millions of people have tried to or maybe thousands of people have tried to write down what the path is, and everybody says something different. What you put to one person, it might be different for the next. I suspect that's because every human is unique and every ego structure is very unique. So for me, I needed a lot of challenges from the outside, like challenges of the ego, like directly, like you're feeling angry now or you're feeling this, because I had the ability to believe what I thought about the situation rather than what I felt about the situation. And so I needed the outside. So Roger Castillo, my teacher, kept pointing me back to what I felt. And so there was this sinking in and into the body. Nice. That is all the questions. I went quickly today. Hi Hassan. Hi Lisa. Did Boris Johnson have a chance to be not a narcissist? Is it about my problem and confusion about free will topic again? It is about... I don't know if Boris Johnson is a narcissist. That's what I project onto him. I feel like he has very little empathy. So it's my feeling, it's not truth. I feel like he's got little empathy, and he's sucking in things to stick onto himself. So I don't even know if he's a narcissist, but he's definitely, to me, on the narcissistic scale. And there's nothing bad or wrong about that. That's part of evolution that's evolved and formed. It's not like he's worse than somebody that's playing the victim or something. It's just part of this system, this society. And no, he didn't have any choice, because who is he? It's like a formation that's appearing, like the tree or the sky or the bird or the breeze. It's all these conditions that have come together to make this really unique being, and it's not his fault. In the end, he is love as much as everything else. Absolute love, every part of him. His hair, his eyes, his skin, the way he speaks, everything he says is love. And it couldn't be any other way. Maybe if he meets somebody that speaks like this, then there could be a change in his dynamics, but I doubt it, because if he's quite high on the narcissistic spectrum, then he will take very little influence from the outside. Yeah. But he is perfect. So even though I really don't want England to win, I keep saying this, because of Boris Johnson, so it's taking credit for it, and then also this nationalistic attitude that I don't like either. We are England, we're better than all the other countries. I'm not opposed to competition, but this energy of it I don't really like. Even though, having said all that, he is absolute love and he's absolute perfection. And that's what I mean by when I say non-attachment to it. Because if you're really attached to disliking Boris Johnson, then it's impossible to see the other reality too, that he's absolute love, because there's such a strong energy that's pushing him away. Thanks for your question, Hassan. Oh, I've forgotten how to say your name, Ike. Ike. I think it's Ike. Hey Lisa, I really enjoyed the meditation session in the beginning. Lately, I don't feel like having a lot of questions. Seems like on a conceptual level, all this is making a lot of sense to me. And then there is this strong sense that everything is just happening, which is so amazing and lovely. The only kind of question mark that's left is whatever this looking, which is prior to anything that's perceived, is the same that's perceiving, is whether this looking, which is prior to anything that's perceived, is the same that's perceiving through every being. It does make a lot of sense to me more and more, but as for now, I can't tell if it's true. In fact, I can't say anything about it, which is so lovely. Yet in the end, it's all mystery. Like imagining that there's another being with consciousness in it is an imagination. So we can teach that and we can say that, but in the moment, the experience is that everything is that consciousness, like everything is that one energy. And that's the important part, is that the experience is mysterious and that everything is that. Consciousness isn't deriving from Aiki and isn't projected like out there and looking at things that are separate. The consciousness is actually arising in everything that appears. The consciousness is the appearances. The subject and the object are the same. The observer and the observed are the same. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Aiki, for your question. And if you want to call in, just put "call me," please, with nothing else underneath it. Thank you. Osborne. Hey, Osborne. So I always forget to advertise his channel. Well, no, sometimes I remember and sometimes I forget. So Osborne does another channel called Lisa Cairns Video Clips. And maybe he's put Osborne's channel on there now or something. And he basically takes my talks and edits them into short talks. And he does this for his own enjoyment because he enjoys it, which is really beautiful. So he does it out of his own passion. So if you get fed up with these talks with all the gaps and me talking to Khaleesi and then disappearing for a toilet break, then you can go over there, and he like labels all the talks really nicely and puts them in playlists. Nice. Oh yeah, you had a question. So questions from the video clip page. You say person identification is in time. Okay, but how do you get out of time then? You really can't get out of time because everything you think about yourself is something that's moving in time. The timeless, though, is right here and what you've always been. That sounds like a koan, but it really isn't. The timeless really is what you are now, right here, right now. Thank you, Osborne. Hi, Devish. Hello, Lisa. Do you still wonder where we are? After all, your seeking fell away. Enlightenment. Did you stop questioning life? Do you still question about time, space, etc.? Or presence and silence has become more important than ever before than these conditioned thoughts? All are all answers in presence and silence. So yeah, sometimes I do think like this is such a weird world. If I'm honest, Devish. I don't really question, I don't think about time and space. I feel very content with that. But yeah, I do feel like it's a very weird world, and sometimes it really makes me chuckle, like how bizarre it is. It seems to make sense, but it's really odd that we're alive, that this is happening, and how it just keeps on happening. Like that's funny as well. Like time keeps on passing, like we do the same things most days. We get to the toilet, we eat our food, we walk the dog, we do the sessions, we do the writing, we do the having fun, and then the same thing again and again and again and again, and yet it all seems very normal as well. We live in houses, we have TV and news and so much detail. Are all answers in presence and silence? In one way, all answers are in presence and silence, but in another way, if you want to know what time the train is coming, then don't go to presence and silence. But in the way, like, presence and silence just has no questions. It's absolutely contented in itself. But on the human level, then the human has questions. Thank you, Devish. Aika, thank you. Yes, I can feel that. Nice. Apana. Hi, Lisa. Today's topic is beautiful about oneness. Non-duality is love. Yeah, it is love. Nice. Thanks, Apana. Hi, Lisa. If there is nobody in the body, where does seeing or hearing take place? Does hearing and seeing still seem to happen from your eyes, or does it seem like it's everything you're seeing? I would say both. So prior to that shift, it felt like it was all happening inside of me, this body. And now it's like, it feels like it's everywhere, but it's also coming from this perspective. Sometimes though, when you're really melted into the experience, it feels like it's like there is absolutely no center. That tends to be in less complex functioning though, like listening to music, you know, with the eyes shut or something. Yeah, thanks, Graham. I have to go to the toilet. Excusez-moi. Yes, if you have more questions, I think that was the last question. You can just write them or put "call me" and I will call you. Hello. J'ai retour with a burp. Oops. I don't need to wobble the camera. Oh. One question from Isabel. Oh, nice, Isabel. Any comment on the human seems the only species with this particular peculiar sense of individual me and self-conscious volition out of all the millions of species? Yeah, I think that's inevitable, that's going to happen. That's my feeling on it. That it's inevitable. there's going to be a species that forms intelligent thinking. Because evolution, to me, is everything becoming more and more complex. So like knowledge is infinite, expansion is infinite, the creativity is infinite. So that's the nature of everything in this life. Like they even say that the universe is expanding continuously. So it seems like the expansion of intelligence is infinite, and that's a necessity that's going to happen. So if it wasn't a human that was formed, it would be like a really intelligent bird. Maybe that did already happen, like in the Jurassic Age. Maybe they wiped themselves out for all their inventions and their pollution. And we don't know what's going to happen. We might kill ourselves because we've evolved too rapidly and there's too many of us on the planet. But we might make it out into space. Singularity is coming sooner and sooner. Like it's not going to be long before computers are more intelligent than us. And when that happens, it could be that evolution really springs into action and we get out into space and into Mars really rapidly. And and then there will be the evolution of that, in 1,000 years, if people make life on Mars or go to different galaxies, then they'll evolve according to that, and they'll make all new species and all new forms of life. And it'll get more and more complex. And then at some point it will stop. Alan Watts put it in a really miraculous way in this talk, where he said something about life is like ink being thrown on the wall. So if you threw a well of ink on the wall and it smashed on the wall, and it in the middle there's this dense blackness, and then as you go further and further out there's these more complex patterns that form. And he said, and then it's the consciousness is moving through it. So it starts in the middle and it's moving through it further and further out to the outside. And we as humans are these complex, intricate patterns that are on the outside of that splat. So in the middle it's dense, and on the outside it there's more circles and patterns that form. I thought that was really beautiful. I don't think that I give it the grace in which he said it. But maybe you can find it on the internet if you Google Alan Watts ink thrown on the wall. I actually think that it's in my book, the book that's on my website. I think that quote is in there. I guess the how of it, if at all, is impossible. How cool. Yeah. How to. Nice. Thanks, Izzy, for the question. Thomas, do you think that sex brings us away from the union with God, in the sense of pulling us into the animalistic, compulsive, and therefore pausing the connection of God consciousness? No. I do think, though, that people have a lot of hidden desires in sexuality, which stops them being very present to the sexuality. So to me, the highest form of sexuality, and I'm not against watching porn and having lower forms of sexuality, that too is as divine as everything else. But a lot of the time I think that people are identified because they're unconscious of their sexuality. So there's identification and seeking that happens. So I think that all of us have weird sexual fantasies and desires, because it's thousands of years of evolution, and it's just a bit of a bizarre act, sexuality. And then also with what we're brought up with as well. So, for example, you could have a fantasy of, maybe you fantasize about being spanked. But you feel very ashamed of this, so you hide it. And you deny it and you push it away. Being spanked isn't very severe, but maybe there's a lot of people that are very ashamed of that. And so they hide it and they push it away and they repress it. And I feel like it's important that you let it out and you explore it with people, because it's through the exploration of it that you can become really like present to that energy that wants to be spanked. And it's through that presence that you really begin to make love to someone. So it's like the repressing of these fantasies is, I think, what divides us from making love. And then like keeps like a separation or a seeking in play. Because to me, the goal of like really like making love with someone is being really present to everything, to their touch, to the feelings, to everything that's happening in that moment. But a lot of the time people are unconsciously fantasizing in it. And that's okay too, but it's just this unconsciousness of it, and they're not very conscious of it, or they're like very stiff because they're not really expressing that. So for me, I had like lots of bizarre sexual fantasies, and because of Osho, so I spoke about Osho last week, unlock that. You meet other people that talk about their sexual fantasies or urges that come up, and like as you begin to go into it, then it just becomes free and playful and joyful. It doesn't matter. But when you're suppressing it, it's like it does matter to you, and you're avoiding it and you're hiding it and you're ashamed of it. No, there's really nothing wrong with your sexual fantasies. It's normally when you suppress it that then you do damage to the other. I think that sexuality can be an amazing way to let go of clinging and aversion, and to figuring out like dynamics that are unconsciously playing in your body. Because there's always going to be the opposite sex around, or people that you fancy around, so there's going to be energies coming out. Thanks, Thomas. Regine. So is there anyone that would like to call in? No. Hi, Regine. When I'm awareness, and awareness is everything, why can I only be aware of that which my body is perceiving? The body seems as if the center of that, what I can be aware of. The body seems as if it's the center of that, what I can be aware of. This is something my mind is often struggling with. Sorry, it's difficult for me to express in English what I mean. Thank you so much for the talks. Best wishes from Regine. When I am awareness, and awareness is everything, why I can only be aware of that which my body is perceiving. So you think that like the answer to that is to be able to perceive everything, the moon, the whole entire universe simultaneously. And the answer to that isn't to be able to experience everything. So to know that you are consciousness is to be able to experience everything simultaneously. The answer to it is to see that what you're experiencing is everything. There is no outside of this experience. That's so radical. There is no outside of this experience. And that's the answer. It's not, why can't I see the moon, the stars? That's all ideas. It's like collapsing into this and seeing that this is everything. This is everything that's ever existed. All the time. It's the whole entire universe. The moment the whole entire universe is cricketing to me. I don't know if you can hear the crickets through my microphone. And lighting, and that is everything. And that's the beauty of it. The simplicity of this. This is everything. Everything else outside of this is imagination, and that's not truth. What is truth is what is. So that question comes as a way for the mind avoiding the inevitability of its own demise. The mind thinks of this in order to resist this, because it's so terrified of sinking into this and not being something special, not being in relationship, not knowing where it is. Like, I am someone that is in the middle of my life. If you really sink into this, like, where is your life? Where is you? Where is other? Where is parents? Where is something? Thank you, Regine. Hi, Osborne. Another question from the clips page. What if you lose your mind someday and you do not even know what non-duality is? What will you be then? I don't know. I don't know what will happen. This is energetic, so presumably there will still be that energy of oneness, but maybe I won't know about it or be able to talk about it from the human level, but on the energetic level there will be a deep sinking into that. So I'll be more like an animal. That's the way the animals are. But I don't know. It's hypothetical. Je ne sais pas. Ich weiß es nicht. Je ne connais pas. Aika. Or maybe a little off-topic question. Since Ramesh was one of your teachers, do you have some connections to Nisargadatta Maharaj? Because I just found some old videos of his talks on YouTube and I found him so strangely fascinating, funny and lovely. Made me want to give him a big hug. Yeah, so Ramesh Balsakar was Nisargadatta Maharaj's translator. And I think that's how he got into teaching. After Nisargadatta had passed, then he took over the talks. I don't know though. So I didn't know Nisargadatta very well, but like at the time I didn't read his book. I knew about him, but since the last 10 years, since Ramesh passed and leaving Roger, I've gone in and out of reading him, and I realized that their language was really similar. So when I listen to Nisargadatta Maharaj, then I can hear the similarity, obviously. Yes, it's nice, that connection. I don't have that feeling when I see him that I want to go and give him a big hug though. Hi Cassia. Hi Lisa. Can you talk about how there's nothing outside of our consciousness? Outside of our awareness? Does that mean we totally create everything what's around us by our individual sense and interpretation of what's experienced? What about subconscious? Does it also influence what's happening to us? Do we create from the subconscious as well as the conscious mind? So just when we say out of our consciousness, it's not a personal consciousness. That's not the same thing as subconsciousness or anything to do with the person. Like consciousness is this looking, which isn't anything and isn't separate from everything. And then there's also this sense of I am. And the I am is the world. So you could say it's like nothing and everything. So that which is experiencing is absolutely impersonal. It doesn't have an emotion, a thought, an idea, a language, a name. It's just experiencing. It's pure, it's fresh, it's expanded. And that's everybody's nature. right now. Does that mean we do? So does that mean we totally create everything what's around us by our individual sense and interpretation of what's experienced? We're never really going to know unless science really advances and begins to look in more creative ways at reality. Quantum physics begins to suggest that what we look at is influenced by that which is looking. So there's this whole experiment by like prior to things being looked at, they're all possibilities, and then when they're looked at, they form one possibility, which is so mind-blowing. So it does imply that the instrument which looks at the objects makes them form in a particular way. So it does imply that we're kind of in some sort of computer game, but we don't know who or what's computer game it is. So it does imply that the brain which is looking at the object is influencing it or creating it. But that's in the dream level. Like, it's not to do with consciousness. Like, consciousness is just watching whatever plays. But in the dream level, there's a good possibility that life is being formed by the programming of the body-mind. So if you have a body-mind mechanism that's very victim-orientated, it will create a victim reality. And some of that is conscious and some of it's subconscious. So sometimes you consciously are playing the victim and sometimes it's unconscious. And it does imply that both are affecting it. Yeah. That's pretty mind-blowing. But we don't know. Like, in the end, it's mystery. Like, life is a mystery. We don't know anything for sure. The only thing that we know for sure is that it's a happening. Like, this is. But we don't know what it is. We don't know why it is. And we don't know how it is. It just is. And that's our certainty. And that's actually the freedom. Yes, I think I answered your other questions. Thanks for your question, Kasia. It's a very confusing question. Not confusing like yours is, but I can imagine, like, when you're hearing the answer, it's like confusing because it's an intense question. Hey Thane. Hi Lisa. Lately I've been listening to people's accounts of near-death experiences to find some comfort and maybe some meaning for my physical suffering. I was wondering whether you have explored these stories and how they fit with your insights and mystical experiences. Is there a consistency there? Thank you. Hi, Thane. From my experience, when I've listened to people's near-death experience, it's similar to this, like, a waking up experience that I had. Like, it's like this total disidentification with the body and like a melting back into love, or what they call light. But then often there's like other things that happen after that. Then they sometimes go into realms with other people, and I don't know about that. But there does seem to be this common denominator of like this overwhelming love and melting back into this love. And that to me is the source of everything. The saucy source of everything. Yes. Thank you, Thane. Yeah, I think I feel like going into silence for a bit. My mouth feels a little talked out. But I feel so happy to be sharing with you. To be expressing. It's so beautiful, this subject. Everyone else is watching the football. It is the football. It's so juicy, the silence. So juicy. Nice. Maybe that is the end now of today's stream. Yeah, thank you for everybody's openness and honesty. I really appreciate sharing with you. And I really, really, from the bottom of my heart, wish you everything. Everything. Yeah. Ich liebe dich. Je adore. I love you. Bye-bye.